Cam, and then we were talking about Camron a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about initially some of the things you did in the street team world and your associations with people like Camron and stuff like that.
Yeah, so doing street team basically allowed me to be like a representative of the record label here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So basically I took it as anybody that came to town that was an artist of the label. I felt like I was the person they needed
You
to connect.
represented them.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I was like a representative. So basically at the time Def Jam had Rockefeller, Murder Inc. and Rough Riders was all
With the
under
glory days,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
like the heyday of the thing.
Yeah.
So and it was the kind of the heyday of the rock, right? And Cam
Yeah.
had just got signed, and so anytime a Rockefeller artist, because that was probably like my favorite rappers at
Hell
the time.
yeah.
You couldn't tell me I wasn't part of state property at the time. You
The
know, like
best.
I was Freeway and Beans and all those. So anytime artists would come to town, I would just like make sure I figured out a way to connect with them. And
Yeah.
with Cam, it was literally a situation where I had just happened to be downtown Minneapolis. He happened to just be in town in Minneapolis for the night, just seeing what the city was about. It was about 9 p.m. at night, and the whole downtown was clear.
You were talking about he originally was out here because he was down in Rochester.
Yeah.
I remember hearing a story about Cam having liver disease from like
Yeah.
drinking and stuff, and then he got through that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he was here treating that.
Yeah, he
and
was in
popped up.
Rochester for like a few days doing something medically, and he was
Yeah.
bored in Rochester, so he's like, I'm gonna just drive up to Minneapolis for the night and see
Just
what's
to peep
cracking.
it, yeah.
And it was like a Monday night at like 8 p.m. and the city was empty, like dead empty, and I just happened to be going to like give the DJ the records before the club.
Wow.
And I just seen Camron sitting in like a Navigator, like basically what is now Monarch. Back then it was something else.
So you didn't even know he was going to be here. You just seen him outside.
I just seen him sitting out in a little, him and his cousin Tito sitting in a Navigator.
The
in
Tito
front of-
roll that Dutch, Tito. Like, yeah.
They was just sitting in a Navigator, listening to the Timberwolves game on the radio.
Wow.
And I was just like, Cam, and then like once I'm like, Cam, first thing I said, like, yo, I'm your street team out here. Like, I'm with the Rockefeller street
And
team.
he was
like,
hip.
he was like, oh, tight, all right, what's up? Get in the car.
Wow.
And then he was, at the time, he was going through Purple Haze, the track listing for Purple Haze. He had like 40 songs. So he was narrowing down the Purple Haze track list.
Which is like
in the car.
arguably his best album, yeah.
And he was rolling Purple Haze. I had like,
my
I'm from
God.
Minnesota, so I didn't even know what Purple Haze was for real. So
Arguably, I'm still looking for the strain. Like, literally,
Yeah.
my favorite strain of all time is Hayes, yeah.
Yeah, so like literally we just chopped it up. He was playing that album. We was kind of peeping, going back and forth between the Timberwolves. This is when the Timberwolves was in the finals, or the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers.
Yeah,
it was like
yeah.
that time of the culture was happening.
shit.
So it was like, yeah, and we built from there. And I was like I said, I was like, Minneapolis popping. Like, tonight's just not, it's a Monday night. Like,
Right,
it's not, I'm
right.
like, but trust me, if you stay at the time, we had a club night called Pharaoh's Night every Wednesday. It was like one of the hottest nights in the city for
Sure.
a couple years. So I was like, if you stay till Wednesday, I promise I'll show you like what the city's really
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
So he was like, are you sure? And I think the Timberwolves like had a game back in Minnesota the next day. So he's like, you know what, I'm gonna stay and see what you're talking about. And the next day, I think KG gave him some tickets to the game.
Oh,
Then
word.
Wednesday, he came to our night, took him to the club, had him
So
in the
he
club.
really showed up, too.
Yeah, like yo, he was down. Like he ended up staying in the city for like a week with me. Like just like where should I go? What's popping today? And
That's
he built
something
with
I know
people.
about him. He got a great memory.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
met Cam once, you know Cam.
Yeah,
Like,
and he
he's-
started flying his people in, like, or like the little behind the scenes Dipset guys started flying in town, and like they kicked it in town for like a week.
When you see now Cam in this new space and doing like It Is What It Is with Mace and his sports thing, he pivoted. Being around him and being soaking in some of that energy, does this make sense to you that he's still as active
Cam
as he is?
definitely like one of the ultimate hustlers as
Definitely.
far as just like monetizing the game and just understanding like he's not somebody that's gonna wait for someone else. You know, he's a hustler. He's from Harlem.
Yeah.
They got the ultimate hustle.
Get
you know
to
what I'm
it.
saying? Like, yeah, so yeah, for sure. I mean, he helped me get to it. You know, like when he came in town that time, he ended up shipping in like 1,000 Dipset mixtapes. He gave them to me, let me get busy. I probably made like $5,000 selling them
Yeah,
on Broadway.
right.
Over, you know what I'm saying? I
Because
got
it was the
busy in
hottest
street.
thing in the world.
Yeah, like it was all 5 volumes of Dipset mixtape. You know, I had a pack for everybody. Like I get 3 for 10s. Like I was on the block like
So
it was
you were
work. Like
lit. Broadway. I'm thinking about
yeah,
03
Scissor,
out here.
DVD,
Get
all
outta
that.
here,
Yeah,
bro.
it was like
Get
kind of
outta
the
here.
heyday. And then when we started having the rest of the Dipset started coming, like my man Mark Webster, he started building. He built
Yeah.
with Jewels.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
We had Jewels come up here. Yeah, did like Freestyle Fridays at Digital City with Jewels. Like came and judged it. Then we had Jewels on like Big E's on Nicolette. Like we kind of made them accessible. I think they took
I didn't
they took
know
them to
that
Studio
Dipset had a
4.
wave here. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
we like kicked that whole thing off as far as like us being like
Dope.
the introduction of like bringing the Dipset wave to the city for real like that.
That is an amazing story about the beginning of your career. It makes sense why you're so successful and you've done so many cool kind of like off the cuff behind the scenes things. Being an A&R, you got multiple Minnesota artists, national record deals, independent deals with Empire. We're talking about Rock Nation situations. You're an A&R. Can you describe to someone listening that maybe wants to be that, thinks they know what that is, about actually what you do? Like, how would you describe it?